So how do you feel about multiplayer so far after playing for a month?
I mean, it's interesting. It's a bit of a mixed bag. I mean, with combat's, let's say, controversy, it provides a bit of a breeding ground for lots of easy arguments, let's say. However, how the economics works and how the trade works makes for a good multiplayer environment. Like having the option to do biological warfare and send the plague to everyone and other players, or assassinate other players' rulers, like that flavor is really good for multiplayer. But there are negatives too. The fact that some countries are railroaded to have tens of thousands of regular troops, while other countries have levies that can't be instantly re-raised straight away if they get wiped. And that chronic imbalance causes issues. So it poses an issue of how do you balance it? But in terms of overall feeling, I'm enjoying it. Like, it's a challenge. Don't get me wrong. Like, EU5 is much more of a challenge than EU4.
Do you not like that every patch they change it so either levies or regulars are stronger? So it just flip-flops? Isn't that great? Where it's like, we're on this patch. Oh, no, regulars are stronger. We're on this patch. Levies are stronger. Oh, we're on this patch. Now Cav's OP. Let's just change it next patch. Like, it's kind of fun that you have to do, like, a lot of field work to figure out if your army's now going to get crushed even though you're winning a war on the previous session.
Well, it sort of feels like you have to read an academical paper every time you load in. But if you didn't know, the now Cav is now nerfed again.
They just did it. Yeah, I saw. It's crazy.
From like a 50% nerf, which is obviously gigantic.
Imagine you made a Cav army. We have on our server, we have some guys who, they did heavy Cav, and now what are they going to do? That their whole regular army is Cav, and now it's so much weaker. They're just going to get screwed. Yeah. And if they're actually in a war, we don't have any player wars ongoing right now, I don't think. But if you were actively in a player war, imagine like you load into a battle, and then you start losing just because they changed it.
Yeah, I mean, I would lose my head, and I would be messaging the mutinous admins for changes. But no, I it's hard because there's a lot of issues in base game EU5 that we touched on in the previous video that they need to address, and a lot of game breaking bugs that you can ban in a rule set, but you could. Human nature, right? People can still do it if they want to. You only find out if someone calls them out on it, especially in multiplayer when you have a lot of different people putting their 2 cents in. And I'm enjoying it because there's a lot of strategy and there's a lot of give and take in it. But fundamentally, EU5 isn't a game designed for multiplayer, and I do think it's more designed than EU4. Because they realise that there is this big multiplayer element. But it's never going to be a Hearts of Iron 4 where the game is just designed for multiplayer. Like, I don't think anyone really plays single-player Hearts of Iron. I might be proved wrong on this. But if you're playing Hearts of Iron, you want to get in a multiplayer lobby with 30 people. You want to go fascist Colombia and start invading the United States. Like, that's what you want to do, right? Or you go on the other side and you role-play history. And you go down that line and you try and min-max how many factories you can get on Germany and invade the Soviet Union and all that sort of fun. And it automatically balances itself out because you have those players and you have that skill level on either side. Whereas I think with EU5 at the multiplayer at the moment, it's cool because you have so many options and flavour of stuff to do. But the balance isn't there. And they need to work on that balance, whether it's combat and it constantly changing with every patch, levies being overpowered, and then regulars being overpowered, and then nothing being overpowered. It completely takes you out of that experience. And whether it's with the economies too, like the fact that some economies have huge advantages over others, like how the Papal State just starts with 140 income for no reason. And obviously in multiplayer, you can then send that income to people. So there's innate balancing issues, and I think the more we play it, especially in Wonders server, the more of an advanced rule set you'll get that can make up for that inherent balance. But overall, I think for the start, it's pretty good. Like, you can't really complain for a 1.0 Paradox game. Like, you've got a very good ground set.
I think it's hard because I know this has been a little controversial, especially for you. Rule sets. I think rule sets. Almost every server that plays multiplayer has rule sets, and obviously the more advanced version of that would be a custom mod. Those could be the solutions, but it's hard that the game isn't so tuned for multiplayer. I do appreciate. Yeah. I will say, shout out to Paradox for making a resync button. It's great that you don't have to exit the whole game and rejoin. I think it's a wonderful thing. But I wish, and maybe this is the solution, that you need a custom mod for your server and you need a speed tick mod. We've been going through this, and this is also a thing that we've been discussing. Maybe there could be a new game happening. The fact that we've been playing, we started the first weekend, and it's been 5 weeks, 6 weeks, and we're only in the 1400s. This game is going to take, if we really play it all out, this game is going to take, like EU4 games maybe took 8 weeks, 10 weeks. This game is going to take like 5 months or 6 months. It's like it's gonna be like March or April.
We'll be going up in April, like genuinely, like it'll be Easter, and we'll be cancelling the game because it's Easter, and then people will be like, "Why are we doing that?" Like, I'm of the personal opinion that we need to swap over to a speed tick mod.
And I don't know if I want to restart and rebuild the ground rules if we didn't do a speed tick mod, because imagine like we've been playing so long, and now it's like, oh yeah, we're starting back in 1337 without a speed tick mod. I would just I don't even know if I would want to play another multiplayer game. Maybe that's crazy.
I mean, it's hard because obviously when you get into a deep save like that, everyone has invested so much time and energy into their country, their diplomacy, what's going on, that they want to feel it out. But I think we also have to be aware of the fact that the skill level of the average player has come on leaps and bounds since when we first launched a multiplayer, and I think that's quite saturated across the community. Whereas you don't have, for example, in Wonders MP, the Ottomans decided not to take Constantinople because they thought no one could possibly go and take Constantinople and take the best province in the game. Surprise, surprise, someone did. And the Ottomans has been useless for the rest of the game for doing that. And just a perfect example of people not knowing what to optimize in the early game to sort of railroad their nations in an MP, because obviously it's very different to single player, whereas in MP people, they know what to do. They can draw attention off each other, especially with aggressive expansion. Whereas if everyone's expanding stupidly fast, you can only really coalition one person at one time. Mm-hmm. So that's a gigantic difference in single player. And I know we spoke about railroading earlier, but it's a lot more like that in multiplayer than it is in single player. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but that skill side of it is definitely something that's increasing. So, I mean, I'm personally of the opinion that give it a fresh start. Why not? I'm enjoying multiplayer though as a whole. There's a lot of balancing issues, but they are getting better as the patch is going on. I think the patches are annoying, but it is getting better.
And the players balance themselves too. I think it's kind of fun. Like every Paradox game, unless you're playing Hoi4, which is unless you're playing non-historical Hoi4, but generally in Hoi4, whatever. But there's just some people role playing. And then there's other people who are like, I just need to make my country rich. And then there's some people doing some crazy things on the side. We haven't had that much player war experience. I thought they're okay. I really wish, I understand that you can assault forces. I wish there was a blow down the walls button, especially when you get castle.
Yeah, they do need to add it.
I understand sieges are quick, but the wars aren't terrible. I understand that there's a fort limit. I always wish there was more zone of control, but easier ability to destroy forts. It feels like because forts are so slow, in the player where I played for the Hussite Wars, I'm playing Bavarian in this game. It felt like I was playing trench warfare when I was fighting with the Austrians and the Bohemians. I would cross over, do a little raid, take a little town, and they would come cross over, and then we'd fight a little battle. But there's no real way to decisively win. And another issue about that is the fact that I feel like stab hitting out. We actually did have a stab hit out this game. I know, which was this whole thing. But I feel like it's very hard to stab hit out people. I feel like wars go on for too long. And
they did. And in the war I had against a gigantic Holy Order, there was we were stab hitting. He was stab hitting me for a long time. I was just declining because it's only 10 hit, and you can have essentially 200 stability between 100 and minus 100. I was doing it to them, which wasn't getting enforced. And they definitely need to make that a lot more easier to do, or just change the mechanic. But there's also the fact of, I think the inability of a stack wipe is a bit of a problem for multiplayer. Because to give this scenario, we're crossing the straits from Asia Minor into Constantinople and Adern, essentially. We get across. We beat them in one battle. They retreat. We beat them in another battle. Next, and we beat them in 10 battles, and they just keep retreating and keep retreating.
He's playing Ottomans, by the way. In case anyone didn't know.
I'm the Ottomans against the Holy Order and the Knights.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have good quality. They have regular troops, and you just can't stack wipe unless you get either very lucky or you beat them down so much. And that sort of takes away from not only the skill of multiplayer, but also the playability of it. Because who's going to want to play a war where they can't win if they feel like they deserve to? And I think they really need to work on that.
That's the trench warfare aspect almost, where you fight a battle,
Yeah.
you all retreat. And maybe it's because, I mean, it is kind of historical. I feel like armies were easier to raise in real life than they are in this game, and armies did get destroyed more consistently. In EU4, you could lose your whole army, and you could re-raise it. And I know they did eventually make changes to how professionalism worked and manpower. But for most of my time playing EU4 MP, I feel like you lose your army, you continue. Here, one, you never lose your army. But two, if you lose your army in this game, it's just over. You've lost. But it's impossible to lose your army. Maybe that's also because they finally fixed some EU4 issues related to zone of control and getting trapped and being stack wiped. But I just feel like a lot of battles feel almost inconsequential in this game. And I know that's kind of what you're talking about. And it's really unfortunate.
And I know they've changed this recently and they've added more of a retreat delay. But it's still not great. Like the fact that you can retreat within just a few ticks of a battle as well sort of defies the point of catching someone. And there's no real negative modifier for retreating because you know you're not going to get stack wiped anyway.
I do think wars do feel very devastating, though, especially if you're using levies. You can feel the population impact, and if you're fighting a Muslim nation, which I haven't fought in this game, but I could imagine the slave raiding probably really hurts a nation. Like when Morocco in our game was raiding Venice, I could imagine. I need to check that. I need to look at it. I imagine that drastically destroyed their economy.
Oh no, he completely went ham with the Venetians, and it was brilliant to watch. But I think a big issue that they've got at the moment, that from my experience, manpower doesn't seem to actually take away from your population. And now I might be wrong on that one.
I don't think it does. Where are they coming from?
Well, I don't think it does. And I think like there should be a disadvantage because if you didn't know, there's a few nations in the game that can just get humongous standing armies from the start. That is Byzantium, the Knights, that is the Holy Orders, so like Livonia, the Teutons, that's Egypt, Byzantium, and Delhi. They can get gigantic standing armies from the start of the game. And it doesn't feel like there is any semblance of balance of a counter-argument for what the issue is with having that much of a regular army, especially when force limit just isn't in the game. Do you think there should be a force limit mechanic reintroduced into the game?
I don't know. We already have arbitrary numbers with fort limit. I don't understand. We have Diplo cap. I don't understand why they wouldn't make a force limit, and anything above that would be harmful to your nation. I think it would make sense. I think it's like EU4. You can build above your force limit in EU4. It just costs more money. And it was an arbitrary number, but I think this game, as we were talking about, is all arbitrary numbers.
Yeah, it is.
I do appreciate, though, and I know we talked about this before, the situation system. I think that I wish there was more, but I do think the situations have driven some interesting, especially the Hussite Wars in multiplayer. I do think they've driven, but then you're like doing other things like the Western Schism, or you're going through the 100 Years' War and ours ends quickly, or the Italian Wars now, and I just feel like nothing's happening, which is maybe a fact of multiplayer where we just do it anyway. You know, you just talk to people and you do your own diplomacy, but I would wish that these mechanics, which so now we actually have players on basically all the nations. You would hope that, wow, the Italian Wars, and like no one cares. Like it doesn't even matter. And the Italian Wars don't matter in single player either. But you're like, now there's actually players here. Shouldn't they like do it? And then it's just like the mechanics don't even matter. And that's something that's been irritating me.
No, absolutely. And it's like international organizations as well. They are definitely controversial, at least. And they are much more used in multiplayer than they are in single player. So much so that in Wonders MP, we have banned them. Now,
well, we banned defensive leagues.
We banned them.
And then we had issues with PUs, obviously. And then we made alliance rules. And then I will say the international organizations, if you're talking about like the HRE, has been so much more heavily used than compared to single player, which would always be the case because and then like the Catholic, like it is more interesting, but I think it almost highlights how bad international organizations are at single player. But yes, they do obviously have game-breaking mechanics when you can actually all work together, which is why in single player it doesn't work because it's the AI just votes for everything pretty much.
But no, I do like how situations kind of work, that they're tailored to sort of multiplayer. that if you have two people on either side that actually want to engage in that situation, they can do, and they have non-linear methods to be able to do that. Like if you look at the 100 Years' War, like England can steal France's vassals now. France can just randomly get claims on England, or England can source cores in France, and all these sort of mechanics. They give that game that flavor it needs.
Mm-hmm.
What I think the sort of issue with the situations at the moment is just an issue of balance, not necessarily with mechanics. Because I mean, don't get me wrong, like there are some like the Italian wars where like do you even know what you get for winning it? Like what is the what is the advantage of putting so much legwork into it?
Same with the Western Schism. Whereas, I swear France won that. Like, he got nothing. He got nothing.
Whereas like in EU4, it wasn't necessarily a situation, but reigning in Italy, if the emperor reigns in Italy, you're going to have a united H3 in like 50 years or 100 years. Like, you know that's going to happen, and you have an incentive to not let that happen. Whereas in EU5, the situations, there's a lot of investment, but not necessarily a lot of reward for doing so. Bar like the 100 Years' War, where sure you get a PU in France, like that's gigantic, but other than that, I mean, I don't know. So what about the Hussite Wars? What's the sort of reward for winning them?
I don't think there really is one. Maybe Bohemia got it. Bohemia won, so he was able to stay Hussite, and if he lost, he would have not stayed Hussite. Obviously, Catholicism sucks. But honestly, the victory for Bohemia of winning that was the fact that he can no longer be emperor. What a great thing. He couldn't be emperor.
Yeah.
And he lost. And I don't know. I feel that I wish, and this is an issue in single player and multiplayer, the fact that I just wish tooltips were clearer. They could just tell you why things fire, how they fire. And in multiplayer it really comes up because we had an issue with Brandenburg trying to fire the Hohenzollerns, whatever. Hohenzollerns.
Oh yeah.
And it's just
basically impossible.
He did everything right, and it was impossible. And I wish they would just tell you this is the conditions. It would just make it easier. Or it would be like a mission. Not even or like, you know, I mean, like old missions in U4 where you'd see, or like not like the missions, like the click through the events where you could click the nation events. I want this, and I don't know why if you meet all the conditions you couldn't just get it instead of waiting for some stupid event. Do you think that do you think that MP needs rules? I know we were talking about that earlier, and we were working through.
Oh, definitely. I think, but I think that's the same in any Paradox game.
Sure.
I think that, like, there's a difference between. I think you've got to tier it between like a multiplayer that you're just playing with your friends, right? You've got 2 to 5 people just chilling out, and you balance each other by the fact if someone goes rogue and decides to conquer the entire world, like a mutual friend of ours, King of Prussia, would do, let's say. That the other 4 players are going to gang up and beat the shit out of him, right? That's how it works.
It's true.
Whereas if you're in a major multiplayer, whether it's EU5 or Heartsvine or Vicky, you need rules to balance it out. Because like whether it's stuff as simple of you can only have 2 great power alliances to stop hug boxing, that's obviously major if you've got a game of 30 people. Or if you look at Hoy and you've got stuff like no Space Marines, like there's a reason why that's in the rule set. And there's only so much stuff that Paradox can do to balance this stuff because they only have limited resources. And would you rather they were balancing like minute aspects of diplomacy for MP games, or would you rather they are trying to fix the issues with levies and regulars, or the fact that naval combat is just awful? And now using that as a bit of a segue, to be honest, naval combat I think is a bit of an issue for multiplayer. The fact that you lose one battle, your entire navy that you've spent thousands of ducats on just dies.
When in army that just doesn't happen. It's a great thing.
Yeah.
Do you think that
it's the total opposite?
Do you think that that's something where, as we were mentioning earlier, you just need a mod? You just need to go and figure it out and make a custom mod and maybe stay on one patch? Or do you think that's something that Paradox should really put their attention on? It's almost like a glitch.
Yeah, I think in this situation that Paradox needs to sort the naval combat out because it just doesn't work. Like the fact that one galley can instantly stack wipe 200 transports or levy transports and kill 200,000 troops in the sea isn't balanced, right? The fact that if you win, like if you have like 20 galleys and you win a battle because like they've reinforced at the wrong time against 200 heavy ships, you just kill their entire navy. That isn't fair, right? And they need they need to find a balance, both with armies making it so there is a way to stack wipe them, other than just wearing them down, catching them at the exact right scenario with overwhelming numbers. So with navies, they need to find a way to make them not stack wipeable.
Do you think that the 30 players, going back to that previous thing, do you think 30 players is too many for multiplayer now that you're playing? I know EU5, we typically get 15, 20. Do you think 30 is too many? Do you think it's best around 10? Do you wish it was 60?
I mean, I think EU5 genuinely has the capacity to hold those humongous MP games. And I'm sure Paradox would do that, with their round table. You all go in the Polish castle and you pick a billion type of nations for those events they hold. But the amount of countries in EU5 lends it to that level of involvement. Obviously, if they can handle the performance, is a different side of it, because having that many people trying to, when the game is slow enough as it is, that we spoke about a tick speed mod earlier, is a different question entirely. But in terms of having just that many people in the game, I think EU5 is perfect for that. Maybe where their flagship multiplayer game is Hearts of Iron. Hearts of Iron, you can't really have more than 30 people, because there's only so many minor nations that can go in. There's a certain level where the game becomes inherently unstable and it just isn't right to play. Like there's a very different experience between playing Italy to playing Venezuela to playing Bhutan in Hoi, right? And there's only a certain amount of people you can flood in. But I think EU5 is perfect because they're going to put like 25 DLCs into this game. They're going to add so much flavor to every country on the map, whether it's Delhi to Mutapa in Africa to England, or the New Worlds. You're going to have space for everyone and everything. And I think EU5 is perfect for that if they can sort out the speed issues.
I've been impressed though in our server, that we've had someone play a bank and they've had a great time.
Yeah.
And we've had people on the fringes have a good time. But I do agree, the game speed, I spend a lot of time, and we play on speed 4 mostly, speed 3 in Player Wars. I spend a lot of time just twiddling my thumbs. And I know I play smaller nation. I could imagine if you're playing France, there's a little more, or you're colonizing. But I'm just sitting there in Bavaria and like, oh, I spent my money, now I just need to wait. I spent my money now. Oh, is there a new player war? And then a lot of times I end up just like arguing with people about, which is part of the fun of multiplayer in any game. But
oh, absolutely.
It sucks that we've been playing for 6 weeks and we're now we're gonna have to wait for the next situation. It's gonna take a long time.
I mean, we're almost under 100 years into it.
About
90 years in.
Yeah.
In 6 sessions, that is crazy.
It is crazy. But I've had fun, and I think an issue I've had, which I wish they would bring this in, and this is also an issue for single player, which we talked about, is I wish there would be more railroading. And obviously with player countries you can pick your own, but I wish that we would see a rise of the Timurids happen on the fringes as from an AI nation. I wish that the Golden Horde would collapse when they lost, which they didn't because they had a navy in the Caspian Sea or some reason. I wish that, the Ming would rise up. Obviously Yuan still remains control. And I think that if it's a non-player area, they should just, throw a little railroading in, or let us turn it on. It's kind of unfortunate
Absolutely.
that you go and you explore an area and the Sultanate of Delhi is still, large and strong. It irritates me.
So, what do you think then? Rather than railroading, but in terms of the flavor that multiplayer has available to it. So obviously, if you're playing single player, you're most likely going to be playing Iron Man. So you've got to go for the Iron Man compatible settings, right? And that means that stuff like the Black Death, you have to have spawn at this certain year in this certain location. Now in multiplayer, you have more space to change it up, right? So you could go for a random Black Death start. You could go for, it could spawn in London in 1350, or not spawn at all until the 1400s and then wipe out billions of people. Those sort of options available to you. Do you think there's a space for that in multiplayer?
I think it's hard. I almost think the RNG is worse at multiplayer. I think if you have, I think certain people argue on our server that every multiplayer nation, there's a mod that all these MP nations should be the same. Which maybe if you want to have a 1v1, and we've had this big issue of, no nations are the same. If someone's playing France or Bohemia or the Mamluks, they're just inherently stronger than someone playing Sweden or Bavaria or Portugal. It's just how it was historically. And it's hard because it lends to then we have now these alliance rules and we have these unfair wars, and I know you're talking about the Knights, and obviously the Knights are way too overpowered in this and unrelated to their strength, but there are wars that wars are unfair. Like there are inherently unfair wars in real life. There's unfair wars that happen now, and I think it's hard to find a medium of, do you want to add more chaos? Do you want to have random? that's where I stand also on the railroading situation.
Yes.
And I've had a strong opinion about this, and I'll say it again because I think it's important. I think even some historical railroading, you know when the Hussite Wars are going to be spawning. And then obviously if it's a player can pick, when whatever X, the Wars of Religion, the other Wars of Religion are going to spawn, just gives multiplayer a more sense of this is what's going to happen this year. This is what's going to happen this year. This is when the Black Death happens. I personally prefer less chaos in multiplayer. I think it should be regimented, and that's kind of how EU4 is. But obviously, EU5, Europa Universalis, MPs in general, just takes so much longer that it's nice to know, because the next time you play it could be months until you get to that same situation again.
Oh, absolutely. So, if you had to choose one thing for Paradox to fix or to improve their multiplayer system at the moment in the next patch, what would it be?
I think if they really had to improve one thing, I think they should make Bavaria the strongest nation in the game. I think if they actually had to improve something, I think that they should...
Ban the Knights?
I think they should stick with one damn military system. They should say, and this isn't even something for them to change. They should just say, we're not going to mess with military for a while. And that would let us play with a meta. And obviously, we've been updating. I imagine you could just stay on one patch, but nerfing cav. And we talked about this, increasing the strength of regulars, decreasing the strength of regulars. It's just too hectic. And this is Paradox is introducing the chaos now into the game. The chaos that the AI brings. Now there's just chaos of what's Paradox going to do. We have to read our academic paper, as you said.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting one. Do you think it's made worse by the fact that no one really understands how the combat actually works?
No,
because
dice rolls. There's the battles. Hey, should you reinforce too early? Why does the AI never join the battles? This really irritated me. We had this battle. It was like 80,000 on 50,000, whatever, but it was like more regulars, less regulars, and we had 20,000 or 18,000 AI troops on the outside, and we almost won. And right when we were breaking, the AI was just standing like 2 provinces next to us, and they didn't want to join, even though we had them unsupportive. It was a vassal. It was like a group of vassals. They were like, they must have had some calc that they didn't want to join. And honestly, I don't care. If we're losing, join the damn battle. I think if AI is unsupportive, they should join a battle even if they lose. If they're unaggressive, they should fight battles even if they lose. I don't understand like why they're preserving. I also think that's more of an issue to the fact that you can't force AI to attach to you. I think this is an easy thing they could implement. They have it in CK3, but I think they should just give you more freedom over how your vassals work. And I know vassals are decentralized, or it's like historical, but I think it's annoying when you're like, wow, I have 30,000 vassal troops, but they just goof off. Even when I tell them, you can't tell them to siege provinces. I feel like those things must be easy to implement. But I'm not a coder.
Absolutely.
But over this, maybe this is where a mod would come in.
But if they're in a game that's 10 years old now in terms of EU4, surely they can bring them over.
Yeah.
I know it's probably a completely different code set, but there must be a way. Or just copy the same ideas and just remake them.
But no, I've had fun with multiplayer. I think it's a good experience. I think one thing that I've really enjoyed, which we're working on now, which I can't even be there, is we're making a custom parliament for the HRE outside the HRE settings, just because they're too limited, and we're going to have our own votes based on how many. If you have over 500,000 people, you get 1 seat per 500,000 people, and so we're breaking down, and they want to have this own parliament, and that's like the fun of multiplayer. You go in, and you LARP a little, and you have fun. And obviously people get angry because you invest so much time into the game. But I think it really, it brings you together. You get to learn a lot about people, and you get to learn a lot about the game. Obviously it's very twisted because you're basically just playing co-op for the first couple of sessions as you kill AI, so it's a lot easier than the regular game. But
I mean, I think the beauty of multiplayer is that co-op can be upended if someone decides to do something. You need to incentivize people to do something.
And that's where players come in, though. Players balance.
Yeah, they do. They automatically balance it out by, like I mentioned, someone we know called King of Prussia earlier. If he gets too strong, someone's going to get straight in there, right? And I think as people get more developed and they understand the game more, that will come out a bit more. But it definitely needs time. But I think the biggest thing they need to do is sort the combat out, or maybe not even sort it out, just sort what they want combat to look like. It sort of feels like they don't know what their vision is at the moment. and I think that's kind of worse than just having bad balance, if that makes sense.
Do you think that the Diplo cap serves as a good limiter on alliances, or do you think that hard alliance rules are needed?
A mix of both, because Diplo cap is an inherently unbalanced system, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're playing, I don't know, Ulm, you're going to have a Diplo cap of 2. But if you're playing Qing, you're going to have a Diplo cap of 60. So there's a big difference between the limit of what you can do with those nations, right? So you need to balance it out. But I do think Diplo cap does quite a good job of balancing out the vassal meta, because I know we spoke about not being able to control your vassals very well, but being able to get so much control over your actual land just through vassals occupying it is a meta that doesn't really make sense, but it's what we have in the game at the moment. So it doesn't just serve as an inherent balancing act for that, but also vassals in general.
I think that's a real issue, and I think that they've also been flip-flopping on how to gain control, and we've talked about this. They changed capitals, non-capitals for control. The real question is, though, do you think victory cards are a method to determine who wins the game, or should it be something that you just make up on your own because victory cards are stupid?
I mean, they are stupid and they're not, because they do allow you to have an accurate way of determining like who has taken these lands that they've been assigned. Like if you're playing a game of Risk, let's say,
board game.
We've all played Risk, right? And you win the game by taking other people's lands, right? And you get certain points depending on what lands you take. The issue is with victory cards in both EU5 and EU4 is that it's RNG based.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you are playing England and you get 3 victory cards in Ireland, like where is the skill between that? Like you just win the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you get a victory card in Brittany, one in Holland, one and then maybe one in Ireland as like your little like easy one, like that's a lot harder to get. And if you're trying to measure skill, there's a big difference in skill depending on the luck you get in generating those victory cards. So, but I think it's the only metric they've got at the moment, especially when you take mana out of the equation, because there is no way of saying like, oh, how efficient you were with your choices, like how well did you make these choices?
Unless you have Scanderbeg. Scanderbeg would tell us how well you spent your money and how much. I miss Scanderbeg, but we're not. It's gonna take so many years.
This video was sponsored by Scanderbeg.
Dude, they need to try. I pay a subscription for Scanderbeg. It's just such a great tool. I know I would. I should probably give them like money on Patreon or something or whatever they use. I feel like I've used that tool. I use it in single player. I don't know if they'll build one up, but no, they're. I wish honestly the ledger is not good enough in EU5. I like looking at the stats. It should be easier to see stats.
It's a spreadsheet game. Why can't we see the spreadsheet? Like, come on, guys. So, if you've got a message to anyone listening, why they should join Wonder MP, what would it be?
Well, one, you get to meet an up-and-coming, very successful YouTuber, Jadamsan. Two,
thank you very much.
You get to maybe become your own YouTuber. And I would say we need a Mamluk sub. We probably need some other subs. You could go play in India. Look at that. And there could be another game starting. So I think you should join Wonder MP. It's so fun. Everyone has a great time. No one complains. There's no arguing. There's no annoyance about the rule changes or getting ganked up on or unfairness of the game. No one has ever complained in the server. No one yells about their guys getting assassinated. And then for some reason a lot of people come back the next week after none of those things happen. Yeah. So what does that say?
It's kind of mental, and they have to put up with you, Wonder.
Yeah, that's true. Except when I show up.
Well, look, the one thing anyone considering joining needs to know is just to remember to invade the night, so your earliest opportunity.
Yes, as Japan, as very functioning Japan, you should go.
I expect no CB wars on the night straight away.
Like the AI. Right. Just say it's the AI. Say, oh, I'm not breaking the rules, even though I don't even know if we have rule against it. I'm not even breaking the rules.
I don't think that's...
AI.
Have we got a no CB war yet? In terms of a rule against
it? No, but I feel like we preemptively made a rule. Players may not true spake players. Rules. We have time joining war rules.
So I think we've answered the question of we definitely need rules.
I think MP is fun. I think obviously the issues underlying the issues with MP are partly because Paradox can't just only focus on MP, even though it's a large part of the community. It's not a large part of the EU5 community. And the fact that there are underlying issues with the game, which you'll have to check out the first video of the series.